Welcome back to Sports Wrap-Up. In studio right now, we have the official photographer of the Buffalo Sabres, Bill Wippert. Been shooting for the team for 38 years. Doesn't look that old, but he's a child prodigy. And Bill, thanks first of all. It's great having you down here. I admire your work. Actually, I've been following your work because we're on Facebook, so social media. His best shots now are of his daughter, which you've chronicled her entire career. So.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, it's an important thing for dad to do, to be proud of their daughter, and I've always been proud of her. She's 13, plays a lot of sports, and it's a good outlet for me to use my photography.
And that 38 years of NHL work has now gotten you prepared to cover all her activities.
Exactly, yeah. 7th and 8th grade basketball and hockey and all of that. My training with the NHL has...
So while mom and dad are down there with an iPhone, you've got probably this humongous camera, right, with strobes, and you're making sure you cover every angle.
Yeah, but we try to pass the information on to all the other parents so that their photos are improving too.
Bill, I want to have you on the show because you've been shooting for the Sabres since the 70s. And in a minute, we're going to take a look at some of your work. But you started out in high school. I was amazed you sent me some information. Basically, Paul Whelan, for those who remember, Paul was the original, PR guy, television guy. I mean, he did everything for the Sabres. And he allowed you to come in as a high school student to take photos?
Just a quick story. I mean, it was really nice. And I was a senior at St. Joe's, and he actually brought in a highlight film. Back in they were actually films, and he brought it into a father-son communion breakfast at St. Emilia's. And when it was over, I had the guts to go up to him and ask him and say, I've always been a hockey fan. I played hockey in the town, and I was wondering if there's a chance for me to maybe take some pictures at a game. And at that point, he could have said no, and he said yes. He gave me a chance, and I kept shooting pictures that year. That was the year that we went to the Stanley Cup Finals. We lost to the Flyers. I was able to take pictures on the ice when the Flyers won the Cup. And I stayed in Buffalo for college, went to Buff State, and continued working, doing some pictures for the team while I was at Buff State, and it went from there. But
so the photos you actually took when you were in high school, the team used those photos?
They did. I shot a couple games, and the third game I ever shot, it was in January of 1975. Gilbert Perreault got hip-checked by Tracy Pratt and Mike Robitaille, and I got a picture of it, and it was a pretty catastrophic injury at the time for Perreault, and I got a great shot of it, and I had a friend process the film for me. Another friend made the prints. I took it down to Paul Whelan like a week later. No immediacy back then. There was no, you had to wait for everything to get done. Took Paul the print, and he goes, "Oh, this is great. Would you mind if we used it in our program?" And I said, "No, I think it'd be all right." He says, "Well, we pay $5.
Wow.
That's perfect. And if you'd like, I'll give you a credential for the rest of the year." So I said, you know what, I think I could do this. So I was able to shoot the rest of the games, and it went from there.
We actually have some of his photos, and so instead of just talking about it, let's take a look at some of the black and white stuff from early on. What are we looking at?
And that would be from that year. That's actually from the Stanley Cup Finals. That's Game 6 of the Finals. That's one of the rare shots of the French Connection together, Martin and Perreault and Robert. And way in the background, and about in the middle, just above the Flyers' head, there's a little boy, and that's Ted Darling's son, Joel, who's about 8 years old in the photo, and he went on to be the executive producer of Hockey Night in Canada and still works for the CBC. So that was just I was senior at Joe's. I shot pictures at that game, and then we're probably going to see a bunch of black and whites here shot in the 70s. That's Danny Gare celebrating a goal. All these pictures were shot on black and white film that I would process in the basement and make prints. And
that's a great shot.
Richard Martin there against the Leafs, of course. What's cool is you look back at this and you see all the different things that have changed. Obviously, no helmets. The style of the skates have changed. The equipment is so much smaller. The guys look like they're junior players. No advertising on the boards. I was joking with one of our team sales guys. I said, you know what, if I ever win the lottery, I wouldn't change my life too much. One is I'd have more people carry my gear, and I'd buy up all the Dasher advertising so that there was no ads on the boards, because the pictures are so much cleaner. You don't have things distracting in the background.
There's Rick Dudley. I love that shot with
Rick Dudley with the headband playing against the LA Kings. The no helmets is just insane.
Okay. Well,
and
here's
then
a classic
Gilbert Perreault winding up for a slap shot, full house. Probably a Sunday night game. He used to play a lot of Sunday nights. We're playing some Sunday nights this year, which is a throwback. That's another rare shot of the connection together. Some of it, you might be losing it, but they're actually all there. Perreault, Martin, and Robert against, looks like St. Louis. And then moving into some other eras. This is after Perreault scored his 500th goal, celebrating with Mike Foligno, which is cool because now I'm shooting Mike's son
Marcus.
Cool. So,
Scotty.
And Scotty and Lindy and Joe Crozier. Joe's still around the arena. He's a great guy. And then to get the pictures where there's some interplay between the players and the fans, and obviously in happy times, playoff games, the celebrations like that, they make for great photos. You're always looking for that. I've always been a big fan of putting cameras in weird places, like up in the catwalks. Although this picture, I was actually up in the roof. That was, I think, the last year in the Odd, or one of the last years in the Odd, taking pictures of Hash.
I love this shot right here.
That's Tony Tanti, played with us for a little while. That's in the Odd.
It reminds me of the classic Bobby Orr photo where he's suspended in air.
Yeah, it didn't win a Stanley Cup game, and that's Brad May and Pat LaFontaine celebrating a goal in the Bruins series, the year of the Mayday goal. And then being on the ice, I mean, it's just in addition to taking these pictures, it's just a thrill for me to be a part of these things, to be so close to all the action and be around the guys. That's the last night in the Odd, and to know what was going to happen and be in the right spot to make these pictures.
And that's LaFontaine
putting the last puck
it in. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, these are the strobes, and I really wanted to get into this because this fascinates me.
You saw this on Facebook.
Right.
I just tweeted it. I put a couple of things up there. That's a flash. That's one of 8 high-powered strobes. They're high-powered flash units that we have in the arena, like most arenas do. And that's me setting them up or trying to fine-tuning them before the start of the season this year, adjusting some stuff. They're like the flash on your camera, except they're about 25 times more powerful, and there's 8 of them. And it basically just allows you to take better quality pictures because of the extra light. The advantage is you get better color.
And you set them off remotely with your camera.
With a camera, exactly. It's wired into the camera, either remotely or hardwired. And the disadvantage is that you like the flash on your camera. You have to wait for the flash to recycle. So I can only shoot one picture every 2 or 3 seconds. Whereas if you're shooting with the available light in the arena, you can shoot with your motor drive and get 6, 7, 8 frames per second. But the trade-off is worth it because the quality is so much better.
And everything's completely evenly lit.
Yep.
And you're able to catch.
Ideally.
How fast is the shutter speed on something like that?
It's the speed of the flash. In that case, it actually is stopping the action. It's going off at about 1,000th of a second, which you could set your camera to as well and freeze the action too. I mean, for parents that are trying to shoot their kids at the Northtown Center or any of the rinks, you can do it available light and do it with the right settings. But unfortunately, those arenas are a little too dark to do it.
So where do you position? Where's your favorite spot to shoot the photos once you're at the First Niagara Center?
Different positions have different benefits. I like to shoot between the benches sometimes because you have a view of both nets. You can look into the goal. Great view of the benches. The downside is that you see, like that picture right there is shot from between the benches. That's Rob Ray sort of questioning somebody on the other bench, Razor being Razor. That picture is also shot from between the benches. That's a pretty famous picture. That's Derek Plant scoring an overtime series-winning goal against Ottawa the first year in the new building in 1996. The puck's just going in off of Ron Tugnut's glove. And that's Rhett Warner with Dominic Hasek. So sometimes I'm between the benches, but right now I spend more of my time shooting in a corner position down by the Zamboni, which affords a full view of the ice.
I love the bend in the hockey stick here. I mean, I'm sure that's what you like about the photo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I'm a very amateurish photographer, but I like to play and I like to take. I was telling you the story before we started. I started taking high school shots of my sons and stuff like that. And the one thing about photography that I love is, you never know. You just snap and you hope to get something, and sometimes you miss, and sometimes you capture magic. I imagine after 38 years, though, that's still the thrill of it. You snap and you hope you get something.
And you just never know. And then sometimes you think you missed it and you got it, and a lot of times vice versa. I think that was Jason Palmaville on that slap shot for some reason, and that's with the strobe, so I've only got the one picture on it. It's not a sequence. I'm able to time his shots because it's sort of a quick process between what you're seeing and thinking and hitting the trigger and focusing and composing. And so for some reason, I'm always able to time his shots pretty well. I get a lot of pictures like that. There's other times when you think you nailed it and a referee skates right by you at that moment, and you've lost it.
The big difference now, of course, is it's immediate. You can look at your camera and get an idea of what you got.
You'll know how it's going.
Right, as opposed to back in the day where you had to take it to a developer.
And when it first changed, around 2001 or so was the transition point between the film and the digital. And when it first changed, it was kind of a disappointment because I liked that feeling of shooting at night, gutting the slides process the next day, and then going and opening up the box of slides. It was like Christmas morning every time to see what you got. that feeling went away in about a month of being able to see immediately on the back of the camera. Now, any 2-year-old, you take a 2-year-old's picture and they want to run up to you and, you know, what do you got on the camera?
And the photo you're still waiting to take is of the Sabres skating around with the cup in their hand.
I am waiting. I will be there.
No matter how long it takes.
No matter how, if my daughter's pushing me around in a wheelchair to take the picture, I will be there.
Who knows what you'll be using then?
Exactly. It'd be telepathy.
I want to give, first of all, Bill, as official photographer of the Sabres, you worked for the Buffalo News forever, but you're no longer there at the News. So I want to give you a plug, give your business a plug. If somebody wants to hire Bill to take photos, how do they do that?
Well, that's great. And you mentioned Buffalo News. I should say I had 32 great years there. I started in 1980. Met my wife on a shoot through the News. Had a great career. Loved the people there. It was outstanding. The nature of the business was that things were changing and they were offering some buyouts, and it seemed like that was the time. But shout out to the News. It was a great place to work, and they treated me like gold. Now I'm concentrating on my Sabres work as team photographer, but I'm also freelance commercial photographer. Shoot weddings, family stuff. I love being around families, doing all of their stuff. I can be reached via Facebook or Bill Wippert at AOL.com, and just love doing lots of little things for families, and do some photo coaching too. If people want to learn some ins and outs, I love talking to groups and families or individuals about improving their photography.
Well, Bill, I have a little sports website, All Sports Western New York. So anytime you feel like contributing photos, because I can't afford them. I mean, this guy's a top photographer for the NHL.
Happy to donate.
It's great to have you on the show. I hope that you, like every Buffalo Sabre fan, have that experience of watching the team skate with the cup. And if they do, I know you'll take the best photo there.
Well, I appreciate that. It's an honor to be on the same station that carries the Rockford Files. I've been a Rockford Files fan for my whole life, and to be on the same station as Jim Rockford is a thrill.
Well, I'd like to say you're going to get a DVD gift set, but we don't have those.
It's all right. I've got them all.
Bill, thanks for being on the show, and I look forward to watching more of your work.
All right. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it.
We'll be back to wrap up Sports Wrap Up right after this.